In a world where it's tough to find real, authentic stories, we're here to share the true heart of the trucking industry and the soul of country music. We're going to dive into the life on the road and capture the essence of small town America, from behind the scenes of NASCAR to the brotherhood of truckers.
We're the last of the cowboys, giddy up gone boys.
We mix storytelling, industry insights, and musical highlights. So come on, y'all, and let's hit the road. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Road Show with Tony Justice and friends. Man, we're super excited. We got a really good friend of mine, special guest on with us today, Chris Fife with Big Rig Videos. And this guy really don't need an introduction. Most anybody that's in the trucking industry has seen his work or knows his name, but a lot of people don't know the Chris before Big Rig Videos. And so I figured we'd open up our first segment today talking about what intrigued you to start wanting to capture the trucking industry, what you wanting to get out to people who may not know anything about it, and what inspired you to start Big Rig Videos. So could you care to take a minute, just share the background of who you are before everybody knew who you are?
Man, this started back when I was around probably 13, 14 years old, wanting to do things with video cameras and everything. And a family friend gave me a video camera. He worked for the city of Boca Raton in Florida. So if anybody knows anything about Boca Raton, that's a very well-to-do city. But he worked as a refuse collector, trash man. And so if somebody put something out on the side of the road in Boca Raton, it more than likely is going to be still pretty good in condition. So he got a video camera, one of those two-piece video cameras that you hold the camera in one hand and you put the recording unit across your shoulder. And so he gave me that, and I started toying around with that, kind of figuring out how that worked. And I started making little videos around my dad's shop. And before you know it, I started thinking that, wow, I could probably make a living doing this, because I've watched the nightly news with my dad, and I realized that there's a term called a stringer, and that's a guy that can go out with his own video camera, film something, and then sell that back to the news station. So in my brain, in my 16, 17-year-old brain, that's something that I thought I could do, right? But lo and behold, I started looking at costs for things, and video cameras cost things, and video mixers, and everything cost money. And so that put that whole idea on hold for a couple of years, until I realized that, well, I'll find a job that I can make a decent amount of money, or the most amount of money that I can, for the time working on that job. And so I opened the classified newspaper, and I started looking at all of the want ads and things like that, and truck drivers and machine operators made the most amount of money per hour. So I'm like, okay, well, that's the direction that I'm going to go, so I can earn money, buy video equipment, and then start my own business. And so I got my Class A license. Fast forward to, gosh, I think it was 19. I forget how old you have to be to get a intrastate license. What was it, 19 or 20? I can't remember. But
I can't remember.
Somebody's going to know in the comments. But as soon as I could get that license to drive in the state of Florida, I got my license to drive a commercial, start cutting my teeth on what it was like to be a local truck driver. And I worked for a demolition company. And through working for that demolition company, I learned how to run a lowboy, move heavy equipment, because they have to move the machines from location to location, things like that. And I just went on to work for another company as well. But backing up a step, I had already started my business, filming things on the side, events and things on the side. That was how I got started in and being involved with trucking, because of wanting to have my own video production business someday.
So then next thing you know, you have two passions. You want to be this audio video guy and make a living filming and making videos, and then you fell in love with the trucking industry, obviously. Life's funny. Fate's a pretty awesome things a lot of times, and so you decided to do this so you can do this, your dream over here. Well, I can make good money driving trucks, and I can buy all this equipment, and then when I'm off work, I can piddle with that. But then all of a sudden, the two merged. Where were you at? What point in your life were you at when you realized that had happened, and this is the direction you need to go with your filming, and what triggered that?
So, 1998 is when I started my video production business, and fast forward to 2006, I relocated from South Florida to the west coast of Florida, and that's where I am, Central West Coast. That's where I'm now. And I open up a production studio. People can walk in, have headshots made, do all sorts of portraits and things like that. People will come in, I meet with them and figure out what they need for their businesses and things like that, and produce the content for them, produce TV commercials and all that kind of stuff. And actually, the economy took its little turn, around 2008, and that was a big downturn in the economy. Mm-hmm. But what I would do on my lunch break, YouTube was a very new thing. And so I'd take my lunch break in my office and I'd go on YouTube and I'd start looking for videos that had to do with trucks, semi-trucks and things. And I saw a couple here and there. I saw the ever popular Notre Dame du Nord uphill truck racing, just north of Quebec, Canada. And so I watched that and I was completely mesmerized. But I thought to myself, man, it'd be so awesome to be able to see that in a little better quality, because someone filmed it with what they had at the time, which didn't really translate well on screen. Didn't look good. So anyway, a friend of mine locally said, "Hey Chris, there's a company that needs someone to come up to a truck show and do some filming and basically showcase what they do at this truck show in Kentucky." And so I thought, all right, well, yeah, sure, I'll go up there. It's a bit out of the way going up to Kentucky from Florida, but at the same time, it had to do with trucks, so it couldn't have been all that bad. And meanwhile, a year or so before, I had filmed one of the 75 Chrome Shops show. I just showed up with a friend, and we filmed that and put it on the internet. But it was just really cool to see all these trucks customized. And I met a lot of people that I still know now, like Vinny Diorio and Todd Roccapriori and a couple other folks that turned out to be still really great staples in the business of custom trucks and everything. But when I went up to Lexington for the Mid-America Trucking Show and I saw the layout and what was going on up there, I thought to myself, well, I better do a better job at what I thought I was going to do up here, because there's a whole lot of cool stuff going on here. So I did what I did, and Four States was happy about the job that I did for them, and wheels got turning, and they said, hey, well, would you want to do some other stuff that had to do with truck shows and things like that? And I said, sure. And so that's where those two merged at that point, taking the video production skill that I had and merging it with an industry that didn't really have a whole lot of visibility.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just kind of like with my music, it goes back before even Facebook really started. I was like around 2000, correct me, like 8 or 9,
Yeah.
when Facebook kind of become a thing. And I remember my wife Misty saying, "If you're gonna do music, you got to have a Facebook." And I'm like, what the heck's that? So we kind of come along at the same time, and we kind of merged into Facebook and all the different platforms and YouTube. It was really fortunate, I think, because I know both of us, our social media really helps us to do what we do and make a living doing it. So, coming along and at the right time, it's just, you don't realize what's going on when it's happening, but you get where we are now. We look back and you realize that this was just God's hand putting me where I needed to be at a certain time for this to happen. And you realize how blessed we are for all those little pieces to come together to be where we are today. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more when we come back, about what you're doing now, how the relationship got started with Four States, and which is kind of how we met and started working together as well with some of the music videos. And so we'll talk about that when we come back. We're going to take a short break. You guys make sure to leave a comment and hit that share button out there. We appreciate you guys joining in. We're going to take a short break for our sponsors and our advertisers. We'll be right back.
There are folks out here who still take pride in their everyday ride. Low profilers, million milers, chicken lights, and chrome stylers. The ones who do whatever it takes to keep America rolling. Those who know if a job's worth doing, well, it's worth doing right. Full stop. Great products for real people.
Based on family and faith, the book Into the Long White Line is a must-read journey of a retiring truck driver and cattle hauler reflecting on his life dating back to 1966. Experience the love, the pain, and the untold stories of life on the road. Make sure to add Into the White Line to your reading list today. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Road Show with Tony Justice and friends. We're hanging out today with my good friend, Chris Fife with Big Rig Videos. Chris and I met up some years back. We've done a lot of music videos together. How many have we done now? 4?
Have lost count.
We got 18 Wheels and Jesus. We did Brothers of the Highway, Star Stripes and White Lines, and the new one that's out right now, We Drive Trucks.
Yeah, but we're missing one though.
Are we missing one? Oh, Last of the Cowboys.
Yeah, Last of the Cowboys, and then
5.
Yeah, and then the Rolling CB interview that we did. That was one of the first things that I did with you.
Yeah, I was in that green, ugly green Peterbilt down in 40. Yeah, I remember that. I met you through. I think I'd seen you a time or two at a couple of truck shows, but then I started talking to Brian Martin with Four State Trucks, and I was wanting to get a video shot for 18 Wheels and Jesus, and then your name come up, and me and you started talking about it. Asked you if you'd be interested in doing a music video, and Brian said that he would help sponsor that, and that was a pretty cool moment. I don't think we knew at that time we'd be doing 4 more after that as time went on, but man, it's been a cool transition. We both kind of got to watch each other's careers grow, and I think both have played a part in helping one another grow as well with our social media, with you being part of the videos and me, sharing that, and then you sharing my actual videos that you shot. It's been a really good partnership and a friendship. But so the Four State Trucks, Brian Martin puts on. I still say that Brian Martin puts on the best truck show in America. Most all these people putting on truck shows try to tailor theirs after him, and I know I do mine. I always catch myself thinking, what would Brian do? He's like the king of that. But I say that had to be a pretty big, stepping stone for you, getting to know Brian and getting to work with those guys. How did all that really come about for you, Chris?
Okay, so that was about 2012 when a company here in Clearwater, Florida, needed someone to go and assist one of their clients, and that was Four State Trucks. And Four States was exhibiting at Mid-America Truck Show. So if anybody's been to the Mid-America Truck Show, they've probably gone to the Four States booth, Chrome Shop Mafia booth. So my job was to capture that show and capture the involvement of Four States at that show. So if anybody's ever, exhibited their truck there at the show, on a Thursday, all the guys from Four States, or some of the guys from Four States, including Brian, would bring lunches out into the parking lot, or they'd make lunch and they have a sit-down area, and that's actually how it started. They provide a sit-down area and cater and lunch and dinner and things like that. And so between that, capturing what's going on with the guys in the custom trucks and what was going on inside the venue and inside the building. So they made a really great summary in addition to talking with some of the guys on camera, getting some information about who they are and what their trucks are. Made a great summary video, and I turned that back into Brian Martin and Bryce Martin, and we got talking about, we should probably do that again at another show. And I said, hey, well, why not create a DVD series where it becomes a sellable product? Because internet wasn't a big enough thing to where you can stream on it reliably or have a decent streaming platform that everyone could access. So DVDs are still a thing. So we did that for like 3-4 years, 4 years at least, very strong, creating DVD series shows for the DVD series, and they would purchase them through Four States.
Pretty nice, yeah. I know. So what gave you the idea? Because I think it was just a brilliant idea to do the rolling CB interviews. Everybody in the trucking industry wanted to be on a Chris Fife rolling CB interview. I was blessed enough to be a part of that, and we still got to do another one when I get the remaking of Purgatory done. We need to go back and visit our roots and do that. But so what triggered that idea? I mean, to start doing that, because man, that was I think a huge stepping stone for you, and it really elevated you as well.
Right. So one of the things that I would hear people say when they go to the truck shows. And it might be someone that doesn't know anything about trucks per se. They're just an attendee, and they're walking through, and they would look at all these trucks and think they're really cool. But I would hear, "Oh, I bet you this truck doesn't work. This truck looks great, but it probably doesn't work. They're probably going to take it back home and put it in the shed, put it in the barn, and not do anything with it." Meanwhile, having got to know some of these guys that are at these shows, I thought to myself, well, that's exactly not what happens with this truck. But also, when you go to a car show, it's great to go see a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, or whatever kind of car is there. But it's usually just sitting there in the parking lot being displayed. So I thought to myself, it would be great to be able to show this truck in motion on the highway and be able to have a conversation. But that idea further came to mind when I went up to the Richard Crane Memorial Truck Show. And the idea was that the guys would meet in one location and convoy up to the show. Steve Mitchell was one of the guys that was organizing this convoy. And so I had to get some equipment together that I've never purposed ever, because usually you got a video camera and you just go film with it, and that's it, right? So I thought, well, if I'm going to film this convoy, I could be on the side of the road and they're going to pass by, and I'd film them driving by, and then that's it. Then I'd have to get in a vehicle, drive up the road, position myself again, film them driving by again. So this convoy was like at least a two-hour convoy to get from point A to point B. So I thought to myself, it'd be great if I could just film them while they're driving in this convoy. I had to think to myself, how in the heck am I going to do that? Between asking Wade Lalone, a lot of folks know Wade Lalone and Ryan Lalone from Diesel Freak. Wade said, hey, I can drive you. I'm going to have my pickup truck. So I thought to myself, that'll work, but I need to stabilize myself somehow. I need to be able to have good audio. I need to have a CB radio to communicate with them. So I put together a Walmart handheld radio that had a little base station antenna. So that was my communication to transmit in and out. But then I needed to figure out how to get that sound into the video camera. So I had to repurpose some wires and connections to route that audio into the video camera and have a decent signal in. But then I had to be able to hear, because if I'm going to be in the back of a pickup truck traveling at, 60 miles an hour, which we don't recommend that nowadays on the highway. But hey, at the time, let's go for it. But so I got some headphones and a wind canceling mic that you'd hear or see the crew chiefs at a race wear. Mm-hmm. And so I had that, but I also had to get that audio into the headphones and get my audio from the mic into the camera at the same time. So I put all that stuff together, hopped on a plane, flew up there to Michigan, stopped by Walmart to get a beanbag chair so I can put in the back of the pickup truck, because that was my stabilization, to sit on a beanbag chair and I'll take out some of the vibration, and I kind of brace myself and all that stuff. So the convoy gets going, we get on the highway, we all kind of find our place, and I key up on this little handheld CB radio and I transmit it to Dennis Mitchell. He was the first in that line of that convoy. And I says, how am I coming in? And he says, well, it sounds like you're sitting in your recliner at home. And at that moment, I knew that I had something. And all the other guys, they says, yeah, man, you sound great. Meanwhile, we're running down the highway. I don't know, it was about 50-something degrees, but we had a good old time. And that video is still available online. It's one of those when it was crude in terms of my standards, but by the time we got to St. Ignace, we were just so jammed up and just so excited, because we got to talk about all of this stuff, and this person was talking about things, and it was just, we all were excited about just having a good time and they're excited to be able to be in their trucks and show their trucks off, driving down the road and everything else. And so when I got back home to Florida, I thought to myself, that was good, but I got to do it in a much safer way and a much more repeatable way as well. So I repurposed some things, and I says, you know what, there's no better way to do this than to use my car that I love so much, which is a Dodge Magnum SRT8, a very rare car nowadays. And so I made that the car that I decided to make that the car to do these videos in.
Yeah, that's a cool story. I mean, here that was basically when the foundation was poured for Big Rig Videos, and then how you take it from that point and you made it better, and you get the camera car ready, which is one of the coolest cars out there. And we're going to take another short break. We'll talk about that a little bit here when we come back and what all that entails, and talk to people a little bit about how they can find Chris Fife and all his videos and what all platforms you're on and all that. So we're going to take another quick break, give a shout out to our sponsors, thank them for supporting the Road Show with myself and my friends, and y'all hang on, and we'll see you in a minute. Man, I hope all your guys are treating your fuel. I really do. In cold weather to fight gelling, and year-round to make up for the shortcomings of ultra-low sulfur diesel. My friends at House Products have a proven line of products available nationwide at retailers, truck stops, and also on Amazon.com. Hey everybody, Tony Justice again. Thank you all for sticking around and watching the Road Show with Tony Justice and friends. Once again here with my great friend Chris Fife. And before we went on break, Chris, you was telling us how the foundation got poured for the idea for Big Rig Videos. And you go back, and I've had the pleasure of driving your car when we were shooting Star Stripes and White Lines, so you could communicate and do your filming. And that car's got some get up and go. Let me tell you, had a lot of fun. Was I think coming down was that, I can't remember what it's called, but it comes down off of
I think it's 49 there out of
49, like you're running
Carthage. They're south of Carthage.
Yeah, that's the Carthage where we filmed Star Stripes and White Lines. But anyway, so you come back home from the show up there, and where you got the idea, and you realize, okay, this is going to work. This could be successful, but I gotta raise my game up. I gotta make my game better. And so you dive into the car. And so what kind of process was that? I mean, I can imagine the hours that you have in that, the equipment that you had to buy to mount the cameras and all that. So kind of walk us through that process a little bit.
So basically it's a process of using, the first generation was a camera mount that rotated and tilted. It had no stabilization whatsoever. The Ronin gimbals and the gimbals that everybody uses now, those had not been invented yet. So that's what I had to use. And then Hollywood released this gimbal where they use 3 axes to film things and the movies and everything like that. That was too expensive for me to use, but I waited, the prices came down. So I eventually used one of those, turned it upside down, and I had asked in some of these Facebook groups, how fast can you go with one of these on the outside of your car? And they're like 30 miles an hour, probably, maybe 35. And I just thought to myself, no, that's not going to work. So I realized if I can put that in a position on a car where, based on aerodynamics, the wind won't get to it, it won't know. And so it should function. And so I was able to film at 70, 75 and undisclosed speeds without a problem. And so that was the second generation, and I keep revising it every chance I can get.
Have you ever blown a camera off your car?
No, sir. Nope.
Really? That's pretty cool. Yeah. Well, I know there's a lot of work goes into it. That car is probably as well known as you are, and it just amazes me the quality of footage that you get. You're going down the road, you're hitting bumps and stuff, and it's solid. You can't even. And I know technology has a lot to do with that, but using your mindset to place the cameras in places where they can be effective and not right out there in the wind like a mirror or something trying to rip it off is pretty cool. And the way you utilize them and position your car around the trucks when you're filming, and the communication between you and the drivers, speed up, slow down. There were times where you'd be like, yeah, come up behind me, and I looking over the nose like you like, come on up a little bit. I said, are you sure? I can't really see your car. I know you're good. Come on up about another foot or so. It's pretty fun, and everybody that's got to experience that, they know what I'm talking about. And hopefully you get back to having time to do a few more of those. I really enjoyed them. So
yeah, I was planning on this fall getting back into that because it's an off season for a truck show. Just planning on doing that.
Very nice, very nice. Well, listen, I know you got a lot of platforms out there. You got a huge followings on YouTubes and Facebooks and all that. How can people get a hold of Chris Fife? Best way to watch your videos. Someone wants to request, man, I got this old truck or this show truck I built. I'd love to be on one of your videos. Can they send you some messages to request that and see if there's a chance of it happening? And I know a lot of times if people have loads coming down to Florida, that makes it a lot easier on you to catch them out there on 75 or 95. But what's the best way people can go watch your videos and maybe become a part of one of them?
The easiest thing is to just do a Google search for Big Rig Videos, or go to bigrigvideos.com, or on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. You can search any of those and find me on those under Big Rick
Okay.
Videos.
Well, I just want to take a minute to thank you. I don't know if you realize, I think what makes both of us successful is those men and women that sit behind the wheel and keep this country rolling each and every day. You know, you're capturing you're capturing a way of life with what you're doing and putting it out there for other people to see. You're capturing people who love their job. They're not just doing it for the money. You know, trucking a lot of times is like music. If you're in it for the money, you quit a long time ago. It's you're capturing people who take just a ton of pride in not only what they do, but how they do it, the trucks that they're in. I don't see how we both do a lot of truck shows, and the working class has kind of always been my favorite because those guys are out there getting it in those trucks, driving through all the weather, all the things that's out there that can mess a truck up, and they show up at a truck show after working all week, and those things are spotless underneath the engine compartments. And the fact that you're capturing that passion that we drivers have for our industry and our trucks and putting it out there, that means a lot to me as a driver, and I know it does a lot of other drivers too. And I hope you keep on doing this and putting as much hard work into it as you always have, because I know you've got a ton of hard work. I've seen you at these shows, and you're by yourself 9 times out of 10, and unloading and loading equipment, sleeping in your trailer, and running outside in 90 degrees or rain or whatever the elements are, and you still get the job done. So from a trucker to another trucker, thank you for what you do. It's a lot more than what you realize.
Well, you're welcome. I appreciate it. I have fun, and I'm glad guys are out there doing it, because if not, I wouldn't have anything to point my camera at.
That's right. And I'm happy that we've got come together and bring our two passions, and my passion for music and the trucking industry, your passion for video and the trucking industry is a great partnership. And we've got to put a lot of, I don't know how many views collectively all those videos have, but it's a lot, and it's been a lot of fun. Hopefully we do some more. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Yes, sir. You got it, man. I appreciate it, Tony.
Yes, sir. Guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll be having another episode coming up before too long, so stay tuned for that. Until then, hey, we'll see you next time. God bless, and as always, speed safely. Hey, y'all, my good buddy, Frank Terry and his family at Terry Law Firm have been representing truckers involved in trucking collisions for years. As truck drivers, we need a knowledgeable lawyer on our side that understands truck cases. The Terry Law Firm knows the FMCSA regulations as well as today's modern video system telematics. I met Frank years ago when he took on a case for my mom, so I know they're going to treat you guys like family and leave no stone unturned in your case. To get a hold of them, simply call 1-800-51-TERRY. That's 1-800-51-TERRY. Or reach them online at www.terry-lawfirm.com. Tell them I sent you. I'm glad you did. Thanks for tuning in. If you like today's show, then do me a big favor. Mash the share button, be sure to subscribe, and leave us a review. Also, be sure to follow us on social media for more updates and behind-the-scenes content. Until next time, God bless, and as always, speed safe.